Hey, it's Jason Lucchesi, and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses podcast show on our YouTube channel. I'm so excited that you're here with us today. I've got a very good friend of mine. Gosh, I've known this guy for 10 plus years now, and he's doing some amazing things in the real estate business. He's the founder of Connected Investors, Mr. Ross Hamilton. Ross, how you doing, buddy?
I couldn't be better. I am so excited to be here, and I find it such a privilege to be on this podcast. You and I have known each other for a long time. I've learned a lot from you. You've probably learned a thing or two from me, what to do, maybe what not to do. But
I would say I've learned some things from you over the years, man.
Yeah. No, it's great to be here and talking to all of the smart people that invest their time wisely in learning how to better themselves.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, like you just said, and like I said, gosh, man, I think we first met at an event, I think 2012, 2013 in San Francisco, but we were doing stuff like a year prior to that. So man, it's been a long time. And man, I've seen you go from, hey, small Connect Investors started off, small, and now it's a behemoth. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that here towards the end, but man, you've done some amazing things. And I know people on right now that are watching, they're very interested in, especially learning from somebody like you that, you have this platform, tons of data, right? So you could see trends before a lot of other people do. Why don't you, before we start carving into a bunch of different things, why don't you kind of tell people a little bit about your background, your history, where you were when you started and where you are right now?
Yeah. And I'll make it interesting and relevant to everyone that's on here. First off, I love the name of your podcast, No Flipping Excuses.
Thank you.
And today, just a few hours ago, I was mountain biking and there was this steep climb and I was all by myself in the woods and I had to constantly remotivate myself to keep going. It wasn't my physical body. It felt like my physical body was giving up, but it was my mind that was giving up.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Jason, I about stepped off, but then I came around a corner and I saw someone ahead of me and I saw them actually step off their bike and walk it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then get back on. And it just gave me the motivation. I just got rid of all the excuses in my head and I pushed through. I made it to the top of this mountain without stopping for the first time this morning.
Nice,
and
dude.
It was because I was an excuse removal machine in my head, right? It's just your mind tries to play tricks on you and give you excuses and really good reasons why you can't do something.
Right.
But I'm telling you, no flipping excuses. And what I came out with there is where I almost gave up was 50% of the way up. And I made it another 50%, another 100%. So there's another 100% inside of you. Not another 10%, not another 20%. There's a whole nother gas tank in your head, in your physical body of drive. And that's really when you can start tapping into that. That's the secret, right? Everything we're going to talk about is going to be about an obstacle, excuse, getting over it, pushing to the other end, learning from your mistakes is so key. And, my background, I started off as a BMX rider, semi-professional, rode with Dave Mira. He moved to my town. He had a video game, Dave Mira BMX.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It was a big deal. And I worked with him. I helped him build his skate park. And I would watch him just hit a ramp and he'd say, I'm going to touch my tire to the ceiling. And he would do a backflip. The ceiling was filled with tire marks on it because he would backflip, touch his ceiling and come down. I say that story because it brought the impossible into reality for me. A day prior, could someone backflip and touch their ceiling? No, if they hit the ceiling, they'd stop their rotation. They'd fall flat on their head is what my limited excuse would be.
Right.
But he was like my first mentor that I had, and he brought a lot into reality. And I got really good at BMX at a really young age. I did suffer an injury that put me out for like a year and a half. And extreme sports at that age, it was I wasn't able to get back on the bike and ride at the same level. I had a BMX clothing company. I sponsored kids. Wow. I had a Volkswagen van. We went all around the country. selling t-shirts and gear. It was really fun. It was a lifestyle thing. But I say all that to say, I had all my eggs in the real estate basket, in the BMX basket, from a clothing company to all that. And when I broke my leg, I just had to it was a big shift. A lot of people have shifts in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to figure out how to make money.
Right.
So I went into Barnes and Noble, and I was scrolling through all the books, and somehow I found Think and Grow Rich, which that's a different conversation. But then that led me to real estate. And when I read more millionaires make their fortune through real estate than anything else, I said, hey, I'm not the sharpest guy. I mean, C+, B- in school, but I can play the odds. So I got into real estate because real estate is the best option for those with limited options.
I agree.
And if you own a house, you're a real estate investor. If you paid retail, you're just not a good real estate investor, right? So everyone's a real estate investor if you own a piece of property. But anyway, I got into real estate, started wholesaling, started doing subject twos, started going to the courthouse and digging through records, which I didn't realize was data, but was data. And then I would bid on properties. I would knock on doors of people that were in pre-foreclosure as a, 18, 19-year-old that couldn't grow any facial hair still to this day. So I looked like I was 12. And I'd sit down with people that were 40 or 50 losing their house and try to work something out. And I realized something in real estate: the more people I was connected with, the more money I was able to make.
Yep.
So I started, I did two things that were absolutely, looking back, were kind of those explosion points for me. The first thing I did, anyone can do, I started writing a book, Real Estate Investing in Your 20s. If you go to Amazon, you can find it. I'll give everyone a copy of it, so you don't even have to buy it. I'll tell you how to get it in a second.
That's awesome.
But yeah, this book is essentially a diary. I've never seen a real estate book written like this, because I would write a page or two every week or month or two.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a look back. It was a look, in the moment.
Right.
And I started writing that book. And the powerful thing, Jason, was I wrote it as if I was already a millionaire. Like in my head, it was like this weird, some people call it arrogance, ignorance, or just, I don't know, intuition. I'm like, I know I'm going to be a real estate millionaire. Super young, like people are going to want to know how I did this. So I just started writing it down, but it put me in the mindset of I was going to get there. Kind of like writing that $1 million check, right, to yourself.
So did you ever watch the movie a while back, The Secret? Because a lot of what you're describing, like Think and Grow Rich, obviously that's one of my all-time favorites. That's where I first heard about Mastermind. And then The Secret, it sounds like a lot of like allowed you to propel forward, had a lot to do with, visualization, really writing it down, because they talked about that in there. But if you didn't, you're obviously, in a different category. But man, you're bringing back some memories of, when I got started in the real estate business too.
Because those are the core building blocks of success and removing excuses.
Yep.
And The Secret is just, yes, I did see it. It was just chapter 1 of Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
In Think and Grow Rich, he says, this is the secret. He mentioned The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that came out, I love seeing the visual aspect of that. So what that was is it made me enjoy challenges and understand that there's going to be a lot of struggle, but kind of keep pushing. So yes, the two things I did was I started writing the book, which wherever you are right now, you can write how to go from a truck driver to having, $10,000 a month in passive real estate income. You can start writing that book. Wherever you are, you can really like downplay it to wherever you want to be, create a big vision and just start writing that book.
Yeah.
It's very, very powerful exercise.
Where did you get the idea to start doing that?
I have no idea.
Because that's huge for somebody at that age to start journaling and to start writing down awesome goals like that. Obviously, they're very ambitious goals, and obviously that doesn't happen overnight. But for somebody at that age, especially in that part of your life, you just had this crazy injury, done doing BMX stuff, and you shifted it, like you said, It's crazy that you started journaling right away, because not a lot of people understand that. So for those that are watching, it doesn't take much to just start journaling. Write down stuff every day if you can, or like Ross was saying, like maybe once a week. Put down your thoughts, put down your goals. It does help. Trust me. I did that for years and I still do it. But sorry to interrupt. Keep going,
No,
buddy.
no, please. It's one of those things that, the secret, Think and Grow Rich and journaling, everyone's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so easy to brush off, but it's also so easy to like stop making excuses and
Yeah.
just do it and check back on your life after doing it. You can learn so much. And it's funny because if you're having a challenge or if there's an excuse that's stopping you and you write it down, it almost, I'm almost embarrassed when I write down the reasons why I can't do something. I'm like, that is stopping me from getting here. Usually, you know, it's such a small thing, but you get tripped up in your head at every level, no matter where you are. You're never going to get beyond this. It's
Yep.
like balance. You're always getting better at balance, no matter how good you are. So it's just part of it. It's kind of like I have a 50-acre estate out here in Asheville, North Carolina,
It's
and
awesome.
I love to weed the gardens and say, Ross, what are you doing? But as I'm picking out those weeds, I use that as I look at the ground as my mind, and the weeds are like negative thoughts and excuses. And it's just fun to just take a second to go through that. Because as this podcast, unrolls, you'll see there's been a lot of ups, really far downs, and it's just it's a fun exercise. Before I go any further off this book, if you email me, maybe you can put the email address on the screen,
Yeah.
ross@successcap.com. That's my personal email. After selling the company, I kind of have just disappeared in the mountains. So I don't have like a website, or I'm not really on social media much. But if you email me, I'll make sure to send you a copy of that book. And it's raw. There's some things I did that were illegal that I didn't realize were illegal. I talk about a party at the Playboy Mansion. It was just a crazy time in my life to go from being broken to a real estate, to be financially free as a real estate investor. And
Yep.
that was the big thing, was to have more money coming in every month than going out, whether I show up to work or not.
Yep.
That's like number one. That's like, here's the water. That's getting your head above the water. And then you can see, and you can do bigger things.
Crazy thing that you just brought up, because when we had our garden on our property, one of the things that I saw when you till up the ground, get it ready for seeding, and you just brought up a point with the weeds. What normally grows faster, the things that you're wanting to plant, or the weeds? It's always the weeds. I look at what you just said, and I'm smiling every time you're saying it, because I'm like, dude, he knows, because it seems like a lot of us entrepreneurs, we have the same mindset. And I will tell folks right now, the weeds are the limiting beliefs that you have in yourself, people, friends, family, whomever, allowing to get free rent space in your head and telling you that you aren't going to do those things. You're not good enough. And that's what the journaling is good for. Being able to write down, I will close my first deal in 90 days. I will make a $10,000 check in 90 days. When you keep writing those down, and I guess you could call it an affirmation or whatnot, but it really does work. Just look at, if you've ever gone and looked at somebody gardening, ask them, what usually grows fastest? It's the weeds. It's the same thing in your mind. That's why it takes a little bit of time. When you plant the seed, it takes time to grow. So Ross, you hit the nail on the head with that one. And next part that I kind of want to share with people is, you've come from so far within your career. You know a lot about different markets and all that type of stuff. And you were kind of one of the first ones that I remember, like when the pandemic happened, you kind of you foresaw kind of the things that we were going to see happen with our market. So let me ask you this, what do you kind of see happening right now with the current market that we're seeing right now?
You know what, Jason? I'm going to answer that question and not answer that question at the same time. Because what I can say is every time I stopped investing in real estate because of some limiting belief, you talked about friends and family and your thoughts.
Yep.
Those were the good old days when those were the only things holding you back. Now you have social media and artificial intelligence. Like, that's why I just completely unplugged from social for a while, just to try to figure out, just to only have influences that I can control for a little while.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong with it. You just have to be in the right state of mind. But I don't know what's going to happen. But I can say every time I've stopped buying real estate, I've always regretted it. And as long as you're buying at a deep enough discount,
yeah,
it's fine. Like, hey, should I buy my first home right now at full retail? That's a different conversation. Should I buy a house at 20 or 30% discount? Yeah, you should. Like, as long as you're buying at a discount, never stop buying. If you can buy a stock for 30 or 40% less than it's on the market for, buy it. Like,
right.
it's real estate. I love real estate because it's buy low, sell high. Like, if you get good at buying low, a lot of the mistakes and market timing just kind of, it self-corrects.
Yeah.
So,
and that typically is what happens with markets, right?
Yeah.
You and I were kind of coming up around the same time. Like, we both saw the '08 crash that kind of lasted for about 2-3 years. And then, it corrected itself, then that's what happens. Everything's kind of cyclical in this market. So with that said, what kind of leads, Ross, would you kind of recommend to folks at this point in time to maybe start going after that may offer the best discounts in the marketplace right now?
No, that's a great question. And I'm going to give you a full answer on that. But I'm going to pick up with the second best thing I ever did, which was building out Connected Investors, the social network of real estate investors, so I can connect with more people. Back when I was riding BMX, the people I competed against were also my friends. We'd ride together. And real estate was kind of similar to that. You go to your RIA and you're all competing, but you're sharing and you're learning and you're growing, co-opetition, right? So creating that network of people was key for me because I was able to sell properties quicker, get questions answered. So I built a really strong network of people. In my BMX days, I was riding with Dave Mira and them. In my real estate days, I've established super deep relationships with people at the highest of ranks. So building your network and me and you met at an event.
Yeah.
Going to an event, showing up, going to events is great. It helps get you out of your own BS that you feed yourself. Like,
100% agree.
So I created Connected Investors, and having that social network, nearly 1 million people were using it. I could see what everyone was talking about, and they needed two things, right? Everyone knows this. Where do I get the money? Where do I get the deals? Right? Those were the two things.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the money side later if you'd like.
Sure.
But the deal side is where I decided to kind of go all in. So even before the pandemic, we were building out some of the most advanced software and data to help people pinpoint the properties most likely to sell at a discount to an investor. And we didn't want just one lead source. We wanted all of the lead sources and everything you've ever heard about and things you've never even thought about, all blended together to find opportunity in different markets. So we created a software called PIN, which is like an Airbnb type user interface that has every lead source you could ever want or dream of, all consolidated, organized, does the number crunching for you, gives you alerts. If you see a house you like, you could just save that house. And then if it gets listed for sale or if it gets vacant, you can get notified. So there's so many different things you can do with it. And, Jason said, hey, Ross, what can we do for my listeners? And basically, we're going to give you that software. Typically, it's $1,500 to $3,000 upfront for access to it. For the viewers and the listeners of this podcast, we're going to go ahead and just wipe that whole fee and let you guys and girls get in there, and start finding properties. And Jason, we came up with a good
Wow,
code.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ross. I really, that's awesome. I appreciate it so much.
I'm going to have to program the website to do that. What code do you want to give your members?
Let's make it easy. Let's do NFE for no flipping excuses.
Perfect. So there's no
Damn,
excuse.
that's awesome, dude. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I'm fired up. I want people to hop on this.
Yeah. There's no excuse not to do this. Code NFE. So you're going to go to connectedinvestors.com. You'll see right in the center, there's a button that says the PIN software.
Yeah.
When you go to that page, just put in code NFE and you'll see all the discounts and all that stuff. So write that down. Make sure to do it. My CFO might not be happy, but we'll let a handful of you in there.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Ross. That's going to be amazing for folks that really want, some great leads. I've been inside the software, so I know how great it is. So that's really amazing.
And let me just say this: the company, I built Connected Investors, and then we sold it to a Fortune 100, one of the top 100 companies in America, company, and they are it's First American. They're publicly traded, FAF. So I no longer own the company. I help advise with product, and we're doing some crazy things. But what I love is they're investing so much money in the software. This company has like 50 data scientists.
Wow.
I had a data scientist consultant from time to time. So I took it here, and now they're just taking it into the stratosphere. So if you're getting your data from anywhere else, I want to tell you that those people are getting it from one of two places, either First American or CoreLogic.
Yeah.
There's another company called Black Knight that a lot of lenders use, but CoreLogic was a spinoff of First American. First American's been around since 1890. They do title, 1 out of every 3 closings. They have more services than you'll ever know. And they are the source of all of the data. So if you're buying your data from any streaming softwares, they're going through us to get the data and giving it to you. So our data is always the most up to date and the most accurate. Now, all data is flawed. Okay.
Right.
Because for a million different reasons, even if you're getting it from the source, there's flaws in data. There could be little time lapses here and there. But it's nice to be direct. I just like that disclaimer because data is never going to be perfect. You don't want it perfect because once it is, then it's kind of too easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in that software, you have every lead type. So to answer your question, I like the lead types. I don't like any one specific lead type. I just go ahead and save different searches that have multiple layers of motivation and property types. Like right now, I'm buying a lot of land, and I like people that live out of the state and they're behind on their taxes on land. Like they don't want this property.
Makes sense.
The property I bought that I live in, I bought a 50-acre wedding venue that was having a tough time because of COVID. And we scooped it up. I got 3 houses out here, pavilions, lakes, mountain bike trails. So kind of building a little resort or retreat out here right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's so many lead types inside there. So just go ahead and jump in.
Absolutely. And one of the big things that you brought up there, Ross, is up to date. A lot of the streaming platforms, we're not going to mention any, but a lot of them have stale data. So that's, in my opinion, that's one of the most important elements for getting accurate data is having up-to-date information, especially you talked about property taxes. That stuff changes often. You need to have accurate information. So I would definitely check it out and see, what it's all about because it's huge, especially if you want accurate data for right now and beyond. It makes the game change for your business like overnight. That's how crazy it is for having accurate data. So no, I appreciate you saying that part.
And if you're like a data nerd or you're you've been in the game for a long time, you've tried everything. Maybe you tried PIN back in the day. Like it's different now that or an $8 billion company. Because the people we were getting our data from, we are now that company, and it will continue to it will be better tomorrow than it is today. Like the plan for this thing is just insane. But if you want to geek out, you can actually talk to the data scientists here, and And other companies, if you call them up, they can take down your information. Then they have to call us up. Then we answer them. Then they get back with you. Now you're just direct to the source. And
Right.
there's all the APIs set up, so you can automate everything. So you
That's
can have
huge.
all of the vacant land with out of town owners behind on their taxes. Just automatically send out a postcard or a text or so you can automate everything if you dig in.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it a lot. It's your software is hands down one of the best in the market, if not the best. And I could only imagine with
Oh,
a Fortune 100 company what they're going to be able to do long term wise for that platform. It's only going to get better, like you said. So kind of changing and switching gears just a little bit for some of the listeners that want to know, what is your favorite kind of way of doing real estate, when you first got started and maybe
yeah.
today? Is it still wholesaling? I know you like land now, but like, why don't we kind of talk about what do you think for somebody just starting off? What would you recommend for them?
Awesome question. And when I started, I got into wholesaling and subject twos and lease options.
Okay.
So I would buy most of my properties subject to, and then I would sell them either to a wholesaler or I would do a lease option. The reason I like the lease option is because if I had to put $5,000 or $10,000 down to get the subject to maybe current or to pay the person, then I could get $5,000 or $10,000 from a lease option individual, get full retail, get reoccurring revenue. So it was a way for me to get into real estate because I didn't have any money when I started.
Yeah.
I just had some hustle. So that is creative finance and subject to. It's great to learn. It's not as scary as you can read it a lot of different things about it. But it's how I got started. And again, I was a CB student, so it wasn't really hard. Wholesaling is a great way to make money. But every house I wholesaled, I wish I still had,
Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I like the lease option exit strategy, because it was easy to find people
Yeah.
and you got to keep most of the properties. And lease options are great because in my contracts, any repair under $5,000 I wasn't responsible for. So that stops all of the, phone calls about toilets and this or that. Basically, like, I'll take care of a roof and an AC unit. And that's it. This is your house to be treated as such.
Yeah.
So they would take care of all their own repairs, and they had more pride of ownership that way. So my phone rang just a lot less. So that's how I got started. It worked for me because I didn't have money, but I had time.
Yeah.
Right. But I had to drive to the courthouse every day.
Oh, to do
Pull
your
files.
recordings?
Yeah. I actually have an old video of me driving to the courthouse. And I was in the courthouse, like, pulling files. And now that's what our software does. But I think it's still really valuable to go to your courthouse and see those files. Now, we used to, like, hide the file. When I found a good one back in the day, you can just put SP number 292 at SP number 192 by accident. And I mean, there's deals where you can make 50, 60, 70 grand on it. I mean,
Right.
eh.
Those were good deals.
That was back when hiding data was, everything's out there now.
Right.
Like, people have always tried to keep data from you because the people that have it can make so much money with it. And the people that don't are at a disadvantage.
Right. No, I agree. You bring up subject too. And that's interesting, especially with today. The interest rates are crazy. They're close to 7%. And some of the subject to deals, why don't we talk about that just briefly here?
Yeah.
Do you think subject to is going to be kind of a bigger deal here, especially with people that have the lower interest rates from, previous refinances? The data is showing from Black Knight during the pandemic, like, I would say when it was ending until about, I would say for a solid 16, 18 months, there was a reported 14 million refinances during that period of time. So I don't know, Russ, do you think there might be an opportunity with subject twos in the future?
Yeah. I mean, that's how you can turn the clock back and get a 3% rate. Subject twos are fantastic. The difference between today and in 2008, 2009, when I was, street hustling,
Yeah.
is sellers have equity now.
Right.
They're motivated sellers with equity. So that was a big difference. My favorite deal back in the day is when someone was in pre-foreclosure and they had a first and second mortgage. I would short sale the second mortgage. So if they had a $50,000 second, I'd give $5,000 and the second would go away.
Yep.
And then I would reinstate the first mortgage. And now I've just taken that down to a $105,000 property, right? But a lot of people were upside down. So I was able to build equity into deals. Now everyone has equity. So you have to create a true win-win with the homeowner. I used to do a lot of profit shares with homeowners, to where if the house was just in need of repair, they would deed me the house. We'd find them another place to live, which is hard to do. We'd fix up the house and we'd do a profit split with the homeowners. So it's just about problem solving. Like figure out what their problem is. Like there's no one size fits all. You have to solve problems for people. Now, people that own vacant lands, like they're not living there. So it's a little, if you're buying vacant land and selling it to builders right now, it's one of the easier ways to get into real estate. I found, but you can mess up with land too. So you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
In either of those things, but it takes a lot less to learn those skills than to learn any other skill that doesn't give you unlimited income earning potential. Like you're talking about, a few months of actually focusing on something.
Yeah.
Talking to a handful of people, taking a course. And we're talking about 3 months of just focusing on something, and then you got it. I mean, you can't do that with anything else. And once you know real estate, you'll never be broke again. Right? Like when you look at the world different, because the world is real estate, right? Like you drive down the road and you're like, oh, what is that all about? Then you pull up the PIN software, you pull up all the information on the property, and you press a button, you skip trace them, you give them a call. Wrong number. Skip trace the neighbor. Hey neighbor, what's up with that property next? Oh, that's Betty's property. You have her number? Sure. One of the biggest hacks that I've done when I was just driving for dollars, when I would see a property that I wanted to buy, whether it was land or a house, multifamily, and I couldn't find the owner, I would put a sign in the yard that said investor special. It said for sale investor special with my phone number. So that did two things. It did more than two things, but the two good things it did. Number one, it built me a buyer's list. People would drive by and call, be like, hey, I want that piece of land. Oh, I'm still working out some of the details. Let me get your name and number. When it's ready, I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
So I'd build a buyer's list. And then I would get the call from the owner. Who is this? Who are you? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you called. I've been trying to get in touch with you. And I could usually talk them back around. And it led to a lot of property purchases because they would call me. I had a different phone number for that. So I knew it was my, inbound marketing strategy. But, I had an excuse, right? I couldn't find the owner of this property. Obviously no one lives there. It's a perfect investment property. I've done every skip trace. I've sent direct mail. So just put a sign in the yard.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I never got in any trouble for it. I'm not saying to do this strategy. I'm saying it worked for me, and I guarantee your phone will ring if you do it.
Dude, that's actually a pretty brilliant move. We've done that in the past as well. And it gets them to call you, and you can just be like, oh man, I'm sorry. I had my assistant put it in the wrong property lot. I'm so sorry about that. We'll come get it removed. And that's when you can kind of go into your whole spiel there about, hey, I've been, buying properties in around the area, would love to buy yours. You can kind of go into what you want. I'm just rolling off the cuff here, but man, you could do a lot of different things by having that sign accidentally put in their front yard. You know,
your listeners are learning some of the real tricks of the trade, and I'm excited for anyone who made it this far in the podcast. Most people don't. Most people only watch the first 5 minutes, and then they get distracted by excuses and they bail. But your listeners are solid.
Absolutely. Love our viewers, love that they come here, and we could educate them on a lot of different things. So we do have some additional videos on walking you through how to set up subject to deals. So make sure you stay tuned. We've got that coming up here at the end. You can click on it and watch that on our channel here. Ross, as we kind of wind down with the podcast, I always like to find out from our guests that come on here. You talked about Think and Grow Rich. You talked about the book that you actually wrote. What are some of the books? Let's just go with your top 2 books that you absolutely would recommend to anybody that is in business. Doesn't have to be a real estate book. Maybe it's a motivation book. Maybe it's an inspirational book, whatever it is. What kind of helped fuel you? Because from you starting off where you were, just got done with this injury, BMX rider, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but your overnight success took many years to do. A lot of people think like, oh man, I need to do this deal right away to be rich. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but what was it that kind of kept you like in the game that gave you your fuel?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, Think and Grow Rich is obviously my number one. So we've touched on a few books. And what I can say is when I would read a lot of books, I would get kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
Because you'd read these books and they give you these ideas, and then you feel even less, you feel like the mountain just got higher, right? Because you're like, oh, now I need to do all of this stuff. So what I'll say is, this is going to tie into Think and Grow Rich. And it's something people usually don't talk about. But I would find people that you admire from a long time ago or in the current day and read their biographies.
Yeah.
Because you get a little more of a story, a story there than you do on like a how-to book.
Yep.
And then find someone that just really inspires you and just go deep on them. And then if you follow Think and Grow Rich's principle, you can create your own, I've never said this term before, but like a meditation mastermind. Where for a long time, one of the things in Think and Grow Rich no one ever talks about is Napoleon Hill had a meditation mastermind where he would just close his eyes. He would drive up to a house. He would walk in, he'd sit down, and he had his people around the table, his dream team of people around the table. And he would make up stories in his head to where he would watch, 2 people have little conversations and someone would come in late and someone would be tapped. Like he would just articulate the whole vision of sitting down with the superstars of our world. And your mind does not know the difference.
Right.
And then he would just be on a hot seat at a mastermind. And he would have Rockefeller giving him advice, or Richard Branson, telling a story about what he did with Virgin. But that's why it's important to go deep with the people that you want in your mastermind, because you need to be able to make you need to be able to talk to yourself in their style.
Yeah.
And it's such a valuable thing to do, and it's fun. So go deep with someone, read Think and Grow Rich, create a meditation mastermind. And a lot of people can't meditate. If you've ever tried, and you're kind of set up for failure when you're trying to meditate, because to stop your mind from thinking and then just to breathe, but now you're thinking about breathing, like it's tough. But if you use this as your meditation space, you can create a different style of meditation that you are set up for success to be able to actually do. It just takes some time in getting to know your mastermind people ahead of time. So,
right.
That's what I've done when I've been through different phases in my life. You talked about journaling.
Yeah.
There's this thing called a 5-year journal, which I'd highly recommend. Every day you write about this much. It's just like, and the cool thing is you could see, June 20th, 2021, what was I doing? And you can start to see patterns in your life. It's really cool. And it's not as intimidating as, oh, I have to journal every day. What am I going to write? Well, you only have 4 lines to write stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a very valuable gift to give your future self. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question. But
No, you did. And I appreciate you doing that. I think a lot of people get, caught up in, hey, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And, they bog themselves down, and it leads to them getting burnt out and not seeing the results that they want in their life, in their business. So I would definitely recommend what you just said. The meditation part was really difficult for me as well, but I started off in 5-minute increments and was able to build it up to where it really was helpful. It lowers your resting heart rate. It really puts you in a position health wise as well, so that you could calm down more and not get so stressed out, because anything in life causes stress. You want to try and eliminate as much of that as possible, and meditation absolutely helps. I like the meditation mastermind that you mentioned, because I absolutely love Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book. I feel like that was a game-changing book for me that really helped change my mindset. So highly recommend that to our listeners, and try out the meditation mastermind. And I know, Ross, you gave 2 things here, your email for the book and the link for folks to check out the Connect Investor software through PIN. So if you can you repeat those again for our folks, so they know exactly where to go for your email and where to go for PIN? I know you said you're going to waive that setup fee.
Yeah. So for the book, because what Jason was saying something, it reminded me, I created kind of my bookmarks for the day, like how to start and finish every day.
Oh, nice.
And I created just a 12-month financial compass PDF that we used to give like our high level coaching students. I'll include that with the book.
Oh, nice.
So you can get the book and you can get this, and it helps you write your goals. And it's not just your business goals, because business goals are goals to get you to your personal goals. It's important to understand that. So anyway, I'll give you that 12-month financial compass, the book, just by emailing me, ross@successcap.com, successcap.com. And then we'll waive the upfront on the software. Visit connectedinvestors.com, click the pin button, put in the code we came up with, which was what, NFE?
Yeah, NFE.
Oh, yeah. Code NFE, and you'll get access to that. And
Man, Ross, you came bringing some gifts today, some unexpected gifts that I had no idea about. So that's awesome. The stuff that they could email you for, and then the amazing, you're taking that startup fee off, which is huge. That's huge. So I appreciate it. I know our listeners are going to take advantage of it. Now, any parting words from you before we go ahead and say our goodbyes to folks tuning in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, after selling my company and being able to financially retire for generations, I put a lot of money aside for charity.
Oh, sweet.
And and we're depending on when you're watching this, we're about to launch the website. It is a charity all around affordable housing.
Oh, nice.
And specifically helping single parents. A lot of you are parents that are watching this. And if you're a single parent, it's even harder. And if you're a single parent in financial distress, it's just compounded. So it's the tip of the arrow on what we're doing. It's called savinghomes.org, savinghomes.org. Take a look at that. Join the newsletter, because what I've done in that newsletter is I'm literally giving away some of my real estate investing courses, because the people that were saving their homes, we're trying to help them get back on their feet. So a lot of people in the industry have donated education and courses and resources there. So you can go there. You're more than welcome to make a donation. You can see the people that need help. You can say, hey, there's a single mother of 3 in, Wilmington, North Carolina, that is about to lose their home. Donate here. So it's a great resource. I just wanted to start getting the word out about that. All donations are definitely appreciated. And you can also donate your time by volunteering or, sharing contacts, sharing the word, sharing it on social media. So, I spent the first 20 years of my life, building my business and creating a safe financial future for myself and my family and those that I love. So I'm spending the next 20 years of my life helping other people get into housing because, maybe I don't remember if I said that. Yeah, I did say this earlier. I said real estate is the #1 way to become a millionaire in the US, but it's also the #1 way out of poverty.
Right.
Home ownership is the #1 way out of poverty in America. So anyway, I'm really excited to use all my influence, skills, and resources to tackle this problem. So visit savinghomes.org, sign up to the newsletter, make a donation. It would be very appreciated. Thank you so much.
Definitely check out savinghomes.org. That is highly commendable to you, buddy. That's awesome. These folks need help. I'm glad that you're doing that here. I see so many people in distress, single parents trying to do it all on their own. Man, that is that is awesome. Yeah. I'm going to count on me to make a donation for, on behalf of our organization here, man. So
great.
Definitely.
And right now we're doubling all donations. So whatever donation we get, I'm personally doubling over the next few months to hit some goals. We have some homes that that need to be saved now. So Jason, I really appreciate that. And we have a lot of people from the industry that want to help, that are jumping on board our dream team. Dan Merrill is part of it. Some people from Pace's team are part of it. So there's we're building essentially a mastermind of real estate philanthropists that want to try to solve the affordable housing side. So if you are a real estate investor of super high influence, you might qualify to join the dream team and get to be in the room with multiple people that have businesses worth multiple hundreds of millions. So yeah, I'm really excited to do big things that help a lot of people and have a big impact.
Ross, man, you seriously brought a ton of amazing content for our listeners, for those watching this on our YouTube channel. I am so thankful that you took time out of your busy schedule. I know with everything going on, you've got this amazing organization going on. You're doing some mountain biking. I know, for us to set this up, it wasn't easy. So I appreciate you taking the time, my man. And guys, you heard it here from Ross Hamilton, the founder of Connected Investor. So happy that you joined us today on the No Flipping Excuses show. We will see you on the next episode. Take care. Have a great day. Bye now. Hey, go grab a copy of our brand new book. We'd love to put this in your hands. The Art of Flipping Deals. You could go grab your copy today at theflippingbook.com. Make sure you head on over to theflippingbook.com. We'd love to get this in your hands today and show you exactly how you can get free exclusive inbound leads in your business today. Make sure you head on over to theflippingbook.com. Take care. Bye.